hello to all of my peeps. It's so good to see you here today from my chair, episode number 267. I know, I'm in a weird place, different location. I have some visuals today for you. And I've got to have a place to hold everything. So I'm downstairs in the Bryce Michael Teen Center. Grab your Bibles. I've got to go fast today. There's a lot to discuss because I'm going to wrap up. Lord willing, I'd like to wrap up God's eternality today. We've talked about this, and I'm not going to go into it because I've got a lot to get to and want to do it very methodically, very carefully. But how can the knowledge that God is eternal change the way I live my life? Well, we've gone through, we've been looking at Psalm 90, and we've been looking at this prayer of Moses. And I've got some mantras, things that guide my behavior personally. Okay, these things have changed me. And I want, because God is eternal, I want some things in my life to change. So I said, number one, I can decide to live this day well. And everything that encompasses. Number two, we said, treat tomorrow, from James chapter 4. You remember that? Treat tomorrow as if the Lord wills. I'm not guaranteed tomorrow. I'm not guaranteed my 70 to 80 years. So look at tomorrow as Lord willing. If the Lord wills, we can do this or that. Before we jump into the third and final mantra from this, I've got to remind us of a few things. The big topic, God is eternal. It's His attribute. We've been studying that. The definition to it, and I do quote Jen Wilkin, He is simultaneously the God of the past, present, and future, bending time to His perfect will. We said, God is unfettered by the constraints of time. We looked at Revelation 1:8. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord, which was, which is, and is to come. Psalm 102, verse number 27. We haven't looked at this one since the beginning of all this. Psalm 102:27. But thou art the same, and thy years shall have no end. And then Psalm 90, verse number 2, we looked at that. Moses said, even from everlasting to everlasting, thou art God. Our eternal God has no beginning and no ending. Okay, hold on to that no ending today, please. So then according to Ecclesiastes 3:14, grab your Bibles, Ecclesiastes 3:14 says this, I know that whatsoever God doeth, it shall be forever. So we know that our eternal God has no beginning and no ending, and so that according to Ecclesiastes 3:14, whatsoever He does has no ending. It's forever. So what God does not end either, just like He does not end. So I take us back to Psalm 90. Moses concludes his prayer. The very last verse in Psalm chapter 90, he concludes his prayer with one last extraordinary request. Verse number 17. And let the beauty of the Lord our God be upon us. Now watch. And establish thou the work of our hands upon us. Yea, the work of our hands, establish thou it. Did you notice something there? Moses asks God not once, but twice. What does he ask him, Miss Edge? He asks him that our brief 70 to 80 years would produce an influence that outlives the years themselves. What does it say? Establish thou the work of our hands upon us. Yea, the work of our hands, establish thou it. God, make our works. Make the things that we do to last beyond our years, our 70 to 80 years that is talked about in verse number 10. So how can the knowledge that God is eternal change the way I live my life? Mantra number 3, let's put this together. I want to live in such a way that the use of my life endures beyond the length of my life. I quote Wilkin, God is able to bring eternal results from our time-bound efforts. Isn't that good? Isn't that good? How, Miss Edge, how can I make the use of my life endure beyond the length of my life? Now, it may sound simple, but it all boils down to trains and train tracks. You're like, oh, okay, that's just so simple. I love this, and I can't claim it. I've adapted it from a commentator that I've been reading, and it was just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So then you, if you'll assess your life, you are spending your 70 or 80, your 70 or 80 years, you're spending it in one of three ways. Number one, your train is opposing God's train. Your train is opposing God's train. Your will and God's will are moving in opposite directions. You're working hard, but in a direction that God is not blessing. You're clinging to a relationship that God told you is unhealthy. You chose a career path that ignores conviction. There's habits or sin that you're refusing to surrender to God and get right with God, even though He's calling you away from it. Eventually, the collision will come. It will come. Not because God is cruel, but because His will in reality, or His will is reality, and anything running in opposition to it will eventually be stopped. Eventually. Are you on a train that's running in opposition to God's will? Then I promise you, at the end of that 70, at the end of your life, all your works, all of it, dies with you. If you are running your life and ruling your life in opposition to God's will, everything that you've accumulated, your money, your fame, your popularity, your material gain, I promise you, it's on a collision course and it dies with you. It doesn't go with you. It's done. Your influence is done when you go in opposition to God. Many Christians, number two, this is interesting, many Christians are on the second train. Woo woo, here's the second train. Your train is running parallel to God's train. Let me turn it like this so you can see it. Your train is running parallel to God's train. Your will isn't against God, but it's not fully surrendered to God. You're doing good things, but they're still your things. It's kind of like how the momentum of an express train blows up the bits of paper and dirt and straw flying near the track. Your works get temporarily carried along by God's momentum, but again, its motion is only in motion for a little while. You're running pretty steady until His will becomes inconvenient for you. Take your halos off. You know I'm right. God, I don't like that. This is very inconvenient for me, so I'm going to lay back a little bit. And God's like, no, this is where I want you to go. This is what I want you to do. Like, no, that's very inconvenient for me. Or you're met with some opposition. You're met with something, you get aggravated with somebody at your church. Somebody hurts your feelings. Or the preacher preaches a sermon and rubs you the wrong way. Or you get put on a list to do something you don't want to do. And you start to hang back. You're running parallel to God's will. You serve in your church, but mostly out of habit or duty. You make good moral decisions, but you make them on your own without dependence upon God. You do good things, but without prayer and surrender to God. You're near God's purposes, but not fully aligned with them. You're near Him, but you're not fully aligned with Him. You're close to His will, but not immersed in His will. You don't collide like the fast train. You have some fruit, some influence, and some blessing, but sadly the use of your life, will be easily forgotten. Yeah, easily forgotten. That's a sad place to be. running parallel to God's will. Then there's the third train. Your train is aligned with God's train. Same track. Same track. And he's leading. Woo, woo, chugga, 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 chugga. He's leading and you're following. Your will and God's will are united. You're on His track. His work becomes your work, and your work becomes His work. This believer, this type of believer, this type of Christian proclaims, not my will, but thine be done. Even in opposition, even when you get your feathers ruffled, not my will, but thine be done. Lord, direct my steps. Where you lead me, I will follow. You chose a career because you sensed God's calling, not because it was easy and convenient and simple. You make decisions through Scripture and counsel and surrender. You let God reshape your desires, not just your behavior. When you decide to align your will with God's will, your work becomes enduring. It becomes fruitful. It becomes stable. It's meaningful. It's woven. I love this. It's woven into God's eternal purpose. In fact, let's weave God's eternality back into the lesson. I want to live my life in such a way that the use of my life endures beyond the length of my life. Can I take this one layer deeper? Right. If my life runs in harmony, this is so good. If my life runs in harmony and alignment with God's will, watch, then my influence lasts as long as He does. Isn't that good? Isn't that good? If my life runs in alignment and in harmony with God's will, then my influence lasts as long as He does. And how long will God last? Eternally. God is eternal. My works inherit God's permanence. Ecclesiastes 3:14, I know that whatsoever God doeth, it shall be forever. I'm going to read these off of a paper for time's sake. Revelation 14:13, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. John 15:5, I'm the vine, you're the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. You've got an eternal vine producing eternal fruit. John 15:16, ye have not chosen me, but I've chosen you and ordained you that you should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain. That's enduring influence. 1 John 2:17, and the world passeth away and the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. Doing God's will ties your life to God's eternal purpose. And then Psalm 112:6. He shall not be moved forever. The righteous shall be an everlasting remembrance. If my life runs in alignment and in harmony with God's will, then the use of my life doesn't just endure beyond the length of my life. The use of my life endures for all eternity. As long as God's alive. And He's never going to go away. He's eternal. That's how long the influence and the use of my life can last. I quote Wilkin to end all this up. God is able to bring eternal results from our time-bound efforts. Watch, this side of heaven, the only investment with eternal significance are people. So, redeem your time by impacting people for eternity. Did you catch that? This side of eternity, this side of heaven, the only investment with eternal significance are people. Are you investing your life into people? That is eternal influence. And that's what God says. I want you to use your life and redeem your time investing into people, because that's what's going to last forever. Don't forget, Lydia at 11 in her journey to remain cancer-free. It's going to be amazing today.